Hello, I'm Ollie and this is CriminOlly, where I talk about crime, pulp, horror, that kind of thing. Today I've got another very heavy mystery box to open. Okay, so I have on my lap a very large and very heavy box that was very kindly sent to me by Jessie, one of my viewers in the States. So Jessie messaged me a little while ago saying she wanted to send me a book and I gave her my PO box, and this box has turned up, so there's definitely more than a book in here. So let me unbox it on camera and we'll see together what is inside. I've got absolutely no idea what is in this other than that it is books. That's what the customs label said anyway. So let's have a look together. So very well packed inside. There's some rather nice red bubble wrap on the top, and then some packing paper as well. Ooh, okay, this looks very interesting. Okay, there is all sorts here. Right, let's go through in no particular order, and I will pluck the books out and see what we've got. So the first thing is a lovely little paperback of The 12 Terrors of Christmas by John Updike, with illustrations by Edward Gorey. And the illustrations, based on the one on the cover, look really, really lovely. Let's find one for you there. You can see that okay. So yeah, this looks like a delightful little Christmas book, so I will save that for Christmas time and give it a read then. We've got a classic here. So we've got The Secret Agent by Joseph Conrad. So I haven't read this one. I have read Nostromo and Heart of Darkness by Conrad, and actually enjoyed those. I'm not always a fan of the classics, but I did enjoy both of those, so thank you for that one, Jessie. We've got a Queen's Noir. So you may remember in one of my previous unboxings I got sent a few of these different noir books by another viewer, Heidi. So this is one set in Queens. So these are little crime short story anthologies based around different places. So this one clearly based around Queens in New York. Let's see who the authors are. Oh, there's a Megan Abbott story in here. I do like Megan Abbott. I don't think I recognise any of the other authors, but these collections look really rather lovely, so we'll save that for when I'm in a mystery mood. We've got another anthology, so The Best American Science Fiction and Fantasy 2018, edited by N.K. Jemisin. So this has a bunch of different stories in here. This would be a lovely one to dip into when I fancy some science fiction short stories. A range of authors, some of whom I've read in here. So there's some Samuel R. Delaney, Charlie Jane Anders, who I've read a novel by, which I really enjoyed. So that looks very entertaining. Oh, okay, this looks good. So a thriller set in Reykjavik, a city I visited not long after starting the channel, actually. So this is Arctic Chill by I'm going to mess up the author's name, Arnaldur Indradison, I think. So yes, an Icelandic thriller. My wife is a big fan of Iceland, so she may read this one as well. Let me read the blurb of this one. On a biting January day, the Reykjavik police are called to a block of apartments where a body has been found in the garden. A young dark-skinned boy is frozen to the ground in a pool of blood. Erlendur and his team embark on their investigation and soon unearth tensions simmering beneath the surface of Iceland's outwardly liberal multicultural society. Meanwhile, the boy's murder forces Erlendur to confront a tragedy in his own past. So that sounds very good. We've got another book by the same author, Voices. So another one, I'm guessing in the same series. Yeah, it's got Inspector Erlendur in it again. So I've never heard of this series, but very excited to read some books set in Iceland, having visited there. It's definitely somewhere I'm going to go back to at some point in my life. We've got a lovely little set of bookplate stickers from Barnes & Noble. So 8 different designs, customisable labels, so I can stick some bookplates in some of my books. Right, there's a ton of stuff in here. Right, let's keep going. Right, so there's a card here, I think. So I will open that up another time. There's a little ribbon around this one, so let's just open that. See if I can get the ribbon undone. I'm failing miserably at the moment. So let's take the card out and put that to one side. So these are the 2 books that Jessie suggested I might want to read in my month in July when I'm reading. Like everything I'm reading in July is going to be books recommended by viewers. So these were the 2, if I remember correctly, that Jessie recommended. So Rememberings by Sinead O'Connor, a singer who I was a big fan of back in the day. And a very interesting and intelligent person, so we'll definitely be interested to read some of Sinead O'Connor's thoughts. And then White Oleander by Janet Fitch, which is a book I've heard only good things about, but I've never even attempted to read, so that's another nice addition to my bookshelves. Right, I'm running out of spaces to put things. Okay, we've got some more crime here, I think. So we've got Last Rites by John Harvey, who is a crime author who I have never read but have heard very good things about. Let's read the blurb for this one. The wildfire spread of guns and drugs, violent outbreaks of gang warfare, festering corruption in the police department. It sounds like America's inner cities, but it's Nottingham, England, and it has local law enforcement tied up in knots. So yeah, that sounds interesting. Here's a book that I have never heard of by an author I've never heard of. Diary of an Emotional Idiot by Maggie Estep. Let's read the actual blurb. Hello, my name is Zoe and this is my book. It's a document of emotional idiocy told in 2 parts. There is the then part which explains how I got here, and there is the now part which documents what I'm doing here. At the moment, I'm sitting at my desk naked, but for some men's boxer shorts and many silver bracelets. I like to see men in men's underwear. Men in women's underwear is also acceptable. Right, I might stop reading there in case it gets more inappropriate. But this looks like an interesting book, and yes, one I've never heard of. So I will enjoy reading that at some point. Here we have some Charles Bukowski, so an author I've been meaning to read for ages. So this is Portions from a Wine-Stained Notebook with a lovely bookmark inside, which has a Bukowski poem on the back there. So that looks very nice. So yeah, I've never read any Bukowski, but I've been meaning to pretty much my entire adult life. So we'll get to that one soon. Here we have something I have read, but I've lost my copies of. So this is Ghost World by Daniel Clowes, which is fantastic. So I read this back in the day in the 8-ball comic book that it was originally published in, but didn't have the graphic novel edition. So I will really enjoy revisiting this because this is just a fantastic kind of coming of age style comic by Daniel Clowes, who I'm a really big fan of. Oh, okay, this is something I've never heard of that sounds very interesting. This is Die Hard Year One. I did not know this existed. So this is a Die Hard comic book. Fantastic. Oh, and it's by Howard Chaykin as well, who I really like. So Howard Chaykin did American Flag, and did he do... Oh, The Shadow. It was The Shadow he did, the reboot of The Shadow, which was great. Okay, this looks really good. Let me read you the blurb. John McClane's name is synonymous with pulse-pounding, heart-stopping action-adventure. Where did it all begin? Right here. More than a decade before the first Die Hard movie, John McClane's just another rookie cop, an East Coast guy earning his badge in New York City during the 1976 bicentennial celebration. Too bad for John McClane, nothing's ever that easy. Join McClane on his first adventure taking on terrorists during the nation's bicentennial on a hot New York summer day. The character that changed film forever starts here. That sounds phenomenal, and I cannot believe I've never heard of that. I'm really going to look forward to reading that one. And this is another comic, and again one I haven't heard of. So this is Any Similarity to Persons Living or Dead is Purely Coincidental. It's a horror anthology by Drew Friedman and Josh Allen Friedman. Fantastic picture on the back there. So yeah, this looks great. I've never heard of this, but this looks really interesting. It's from Fantagraphics, who are always good, and this looks really interesting. Like really interestingly illustrated, kind of more of an underground style. So yeah, that looks fantastic. Again, running out of places to put things. Hopefully nothing falls over. Right, that's that half of the box unpacked. Let's move back to this half of the box. So we've got some paperbacks here. So we've got a lovely vintage Elmore Leonard paperback, The Hunted. I don't think I've read this one. I've read a bunch of Elmore Leonard, but I haven't read anything by him recently. I read loads of his stuff when I was in my 20s. This is a 1980s paperback edition of The Hunted. Fantastic cover. And Elmore Leonard is always good value for money, so we'll definitely enjoy that one. Another Elmore Leonard, and again, I don't think I've read this one either. So this is City Primeval, which is kind of his take on... I think it's supposed to be like a western, but like a cop western set in the city. So let's read the blurb. Clement Mansell figures the cops can't nail him for his latest murder spree. The only evidence he left were the bodies of a judge and a girl. What Clement didn't figure on is a cop who believes in old-fashioned justice. Homicide detective Raymond Cruz would rather play by the book, but if the choice is upholding the law or bringing down a killer, his trigger finger will do the deciding. That is a great line. So yeah, that looks phenomenal. There's a good blurb on the cover as well. So yes, it's described as high noon in Detroit. When a psycho killer gets off, a lady lawyer gets pushed, and a cop gets mad. It's a showdown. Right, this looks like a fantasy novel, and it is one I have not heard of by an author I haven't heard of. So this is Patricia A. McKillip, Heir of Sea and Fire. So that's got a lovely kind of 70s style fantasy cover. We've got a lovely paperback book by none other than Leonard Cohen, who apparently is the most daring new novelist on the scene today. This is the unexpurgated edition of Beautiful Losers, which looks like it's got kind of poetry woven into the novel. So it looks like a fun, slightly saucy maybe read. Okay, we have a few, certainly a couple of canine mysteries. So both from the Melanie Travis Canine Mystery series. So I've read a few cat mysteries, but no dog mysteries. So both by Lorian Berenson. We've got Bite Club and Live and Let Growl. So I'm going to read the blurb of Live and Let Growl just because that's such a great title. When her Aunt Peg lands a gig as a judge at a Kentucky dog show, Melanie Travis welcomes the opportunity for a road trip. Once there, Aunt Peg reconnects with an old friend, Ellie Gates Wanamaker, a former standard poodle exhibitor, and a member of a well-heeled Kentucky family. Miss Ellie has been out of the dog show world for more than a decade, but when Melanie invites her to spectate at the Louisville Kennel Club dog show, she's eager to accompany her. Miss Ellie's presence at the Expo Centre, however, provokes mixed reactions from exhibitors who she hasn't seen in years, including some outright animosity. The following day, Melanie learns that Miss Ellie has suffered a fatal accident while exercising her dogs. Aunt Peg, however, suspects foul play. Wishing to avoid any scandal, Miss Ellie's pedigreed family prefers to let sleeping dogs lie, but as Melody begins to sniff around, she discovers Miss Ellie had many secrets, both in the dog show world and amongst her Kentucky kin. This sounds very entertaining indeed, so I shall look forward to reading both of those. Right, we've got a novelisation next. Oh, okay, wow. So 3 novelisations, all of which look fantastic. One of which I have read before, but not for many years. So we've got the novelisation of Willow, which is by Wayland Drew. Now, how do I know the name Wayland Drew? I'm sure I've come across that name on something else recently. And this is a proper old school novelisation with colour pictures from the film in the middle of it. Can't believe they don't do this anymore. I guess it's just like a cost thing, but these are wonderful. Now I've got a confession to make. I've never seen Willow, so I'll have to try and track down a copy of Willow and watch it, as well as reading the book. The next one is the one I have read before, but not for ages, and that is the novelisation of RoboCop 2, which is by Ed Naha, based on the screenplay by Frank Miller. I love. The first RoboCop movie is one of my 5 favourite films of all time. The second one, I don't think it's quite as good, but I do love a novelisation, and I seem to remember this was a pretty decent novelisation as well. And then the final one is one I didn't even know there was a novelisation of. But it's a movie I really like, and the novel is by an author I really like. It's the novelisation of Air Force One, which is by Max Allan Collins. And Max Allan Collins is a fantastic, like, really entertaining and really prolific crime writer. But I didn't know he'd done a novelisation of Air Force One, so I will definitely enjoy reading that one. Right, we are nearly there. We've got about 7 or 8 things to go. So first up is a book that is described as the lusty, ribald, and is it ribald or ribald? Ribald and wonderful misadventures of Davy, that irrepressible child of the future. This has got a very dodgy cover. I don't know how much of that detail you can make out. I'm going to have to read the blurb of this one because it sounds phenomenal. Born in a brothel, raised in an orphanage, entranced by music and seduced by women, Davy. The utterly candid chronicles of a youth from an age beyond the future. I don't know what that means. A young man whose unquenchable thirst for knowledge is matched only by his dauntless lust for life. And according to Theodore Sturgeon, it's a lovely book, a rollicking book, a cadenced, surprising, provocative and musical book. So that does sound rather fantastic, and what a cover. Right. Okay, next we have a book by Madeleine L'Engle, who I think I'm right in saying wrote, what's it called? A Wrinkle in Time, is it called? So this is A House Like a Lotus, which looks like a teen novel. So let's read the back. When 16-year-old Polly O'Keefe journeys to Athens, she feels confused and betrayed. The past 8 months at home were different from any other time in her life. She met the brilliant, wealthy, another name for me to struggle over, Maximiliana Horn, who gave her encouragement and made her feel self-confident. Polly idolised Max until she learned a startling truth that left her wounded and angry. Now on a trip to Greece arranged by Max, Polly finds romance, danger and unique friendships. But can she find a way to forgive Max and remember her as more than a painful memory? That does sound good. Oh, okay. Wow. A book by someone I adore, and another book I didn't know existed. So this is Make Trouble by the fantastic John Waters. So what is this? I've read a fair few John Waters books over the years. This is like illustrations and little poems and sayings and things like that. This looks absolutely adorable. Okay, this looks really cute. A very nice kind of coffee table style book by the Pope of Trash. So yeah, definitely looking forward to that. Next we have Forced Entries, The Downtown Diaries by Jim Carroll, the sensational sequel to the Basketball Diaries. So I'm aware of the Basketball Diaries, but I've never read anything by Jim Carroll. That looks good. And we've got the New York Trilogy by Paul Auster, which is one of those clever books that I've been meaning to read forever. So I will have to dig into this. I think I'm right in saying my sister's a bit of a Paul Auster fan. So this includes the 3 instalments, which are City of Glass, Ghosts and The Locked Room. Right, next up we have another one I've heard of but haven't ever read. So this is Bright Likes Big City by Jay McInerney, which I think was filmed with Michael J. Fox? Or am I dreaming that? Which is a book about a young man in New York. So let's read the back. Living in Manhattan as if he owned it, a young man tries to outstrip mortality and the recurring approach of dawn with nothing but goodwill, controlled substances and wit to sustain him in his anti-quest. He can run, but he can't hide. His relentless flight through nightclubs, fashion shows, editorial offices and loft parties finally brings him to the reckoning point where he is forced to acknowledge loss and possibly to rediscover his better instincts. That sounds very good. Right, 3 things to go. So this is I've heard of this one, and I've certainly heard of the author, but I've never read it. So this is What Was She Thinking? Notes on a Scandal by Zoe Heller, which again is a clever book, but by an author who I believe is supposed to be very good. We have something I've never heard of, Alina Bronsky, Broken Glass Park, which according to the back is a rare, unflinching and moving look at the way violence replicates itself in the lives of survivors. So this does sound interesting. And it's a lovely edition as well. Those French flaps, which are always nice to see. So yeah, that looks very interesting. And then finally, a book by another musician, like Leonard Cohen, but one I'm a really big fan of actually, Patti Smith. So this is Year of the Monkey. So it's this relatively new book by Patti Smith. I feel like it is, but I might be completely wrong. She's written a few things over the years, hasn't she? Oh, it's got deckled edges. Very posh indeed. Can you see that? I never know how to do that thing that makes the camera focus. But yeah, it's got those kind of riffled edges, which does make it more difficult to turn the pages. When did it come out? Yeah, 2019, so it is quite a new one. So yes, lovely. Love a bit of Patti Smith. So yeah, we'll enjoy reading that as well. So I think that's everything. That is a wonderfully varied selection of books. Some trash in there, some smarter books in there, and some stuff in between as well. So thank you very much, Jessie. That is a wonderful selection. I will really enjoy reading those. Do let me know, people, in the comments if you've read any of these, if there's any you think I should get to more quickly than others. And as always, thank you very much for watching. Hope you're safe and well out there. Hope you're reading good stuff, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Cheerio.